Hey guys, Anthony aka the Almighty Hut here. This video marks the first time I'm jumping into speculation, so if you like this kind of content, be sure to let me know in the comments so I can know to keep making more videos like this. Anyways, today's topic is this. Is the Skywalker saga actually a tragedy? I'll be discussing Ben Solo's and to a lesser extent Rey's potential story arcs in episode 9, as well as the Skywalkers' legacy and their overall effect on the galaxy. Now, let me start by saying that Ben Solo, barring some sort of retcon to make Rey a Skywalker, which I personally don't think will and also don't want to happen, he's the last of the Skywalker bloodline that we know of. Of course, this could also change if he and Rey have a child or something like that, but for the sake of this video, let's say he is indeed the last Skywalker. The reason I bring up the fact that he's the last Skywalker is because I think J.J. Abrams had that fact in the front of his mind when writing episode 9. Because this movie isn't going to wrap up just Ben's story, but also the story of the Skywalkers as a whole for now, and so to reach a satisfying conclusion to the saga, Ben will likely do something that doesn't only add to his legacy, but also lends to the legacy of his bloodline. I think Ben Solo will be redeemed in episode 9, but I don't think episode 9 will have as big of an impact on the galaxy as many people think it will, at least not in the larger picture. That's because I think this saga is meant to be somewhat of a tragedy. Sure, episode 9 might see the First Order destroyed and the galaxy at peace again, and that is a big change for the galaxy, but when you zoom out and look at the saga as a whole, if this theory is close at all, the story of the Skywalkers will be one of tragedy and ultimately didn't have much effect on the galaxy. Now that was just the setup for my theory. The theory itself really starts here. Think for a minute. Think back to the prequels. What made Anakin fall to the dark side? Sure, his trust in the Jedi Order was shaken after Ahsoka was framed and exiled, and also after he wasn't made a Jedi Master. But the primary reason was that he was tempted by the Emperor, who said that he could help Anakin save Padme's life. That was his main goal that he was trying to achieve by turning to the dark side, saving Padme's life. Then, think to the original trilogy. What was Luke's main purpose? Yes, it was to redeem his father, but once he did that, his goal was to revive the Jedi Order until Ben destroyed his temple. So, this means that the main failings of Anakin and Luke were that they were either tempted to the dark side because they feared the death of a loved one, or they failed to restore the Jedi Order to its former glory. Well, what if I told you that Ben, with the help of Rey, could accomplish both of the things his ancestors couldn't, that being saving those he loved and restoring the Jedi Order, but that it wouldn't really have a large overall impact on the galaxy when you look at the entire saga. Imagine that in episode 9 it is revealed that Snoke was Plagueis, which I know is a theory that was beaten to death leading into The Last Jedi, but hear me out. Imagine that Snoke was indeed Plagueis. Well, Plagueis was the Force user that Palpatine said could, quote, influence the midichlorians to create life and save the ones he loved from dying.
Darth Plagueis was a dark lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise, he could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
Now, Palpatine believed he had killed Plagueis in his sleep, but what if Plagueis actually survived whatever it was that Palpatine did to him, and went to hide out in the unknown regions until the time was right to manipulate Ben Solo, and became known as Snoke to hide his identity? This may have very well been the dark side presence in the unknown region that Palpatine felt in the Aftermath trilogy of books. So, if Snoke is Plagueis, what does that have to do with Ben Solo's story? A lot, actually, as once again, Plagueis could save those he loved from dying. What if Ben is seeking this power, but is actually using Snoke to gain it? Yes, you heard that right. Snoke isn't using Ben is using Snoke. Let me explain. Remember in The Force Awakens when Ben was interrogating Rey about the map to Luke and begins to enter her mind? Remember how she reversed that back onto him and read his mind, saying,
You're afraid that you will never be as strong as Darth Vader.
And also in The Force Awakens, remember how Ben was talking to Vader's burned helmet and says,
and I will finish what you started.
They seem like unimportant scenes now, but now that J.J. Abrams is writing and directing Episode 9, they actually might be very important. JJ may want to pick up some of the ideas he set up in The Force Awakens, and I believe Ben trying to finish what Vader started will be one of them. But I don't think he's talking about installing an oppressive regime over the galaxy and ruling with an iron fist. Certainly, that's what the scene wants you to believe, but I've interpreted it a different way. What if Ben is actually trying to discover how to save people from dying, just like Anakin wanted to do? That's what he really means by finishing what Vader started. He's just using the First Order as a means of getting to his real goal. Now, the reason I brought up Rey reversing Ben's mind probe back onto him is because it plays perfectly into this theory. What if Ben, when Snoke entered his mind, did the same exact thing Rey did to him in The Force Awakens and reversed it back onto Snoke, without Snoke ever realizing it? Now you may be asking how Snoke, if so powerful, couldn't realize that Ben had entered his mind. To that I'll say this: arrogance. He says in The Last Jedi,
"You think you can turn him? Pathetic child. I cannot be betrayed. I cannot be beaten. I see his mind. I see his every intent."
He believes he has Ben, to quote Hux, tied at the end of a string. He thinks Ben is his puppet and would never turn against him. So Ben simply outsmarted him and allowed Snoke into his mind so that he could learn how to save people from dying. This also explains why he killed Snoke in The Last Jedi, as he had gotten everything he needed from him already, and so he was prepared to become the leader of the First Order. But I believe, and Reylo fans, you're going to want to listen to this, I believe that in Episode 9, we will see Rey killed, and it won't be until that point that Ben realizes that he loves her and needs to save her. He will drop everything, and finally we will see the power to save people from dying used. However, like Luke died from the strain of his projection in The Last Jedi, it will take everything Ben has to save Rey, and this sacrifice will be what ultimately kills him and ends the Skywalker bloodline. Ben will save Rey because of his love for her, and Rey will go on to restore the Jedi Order, possibly even at Ben's request. Also, a side note, how sweet would it be if Rey, after being revived by Ben but before Ben dies from the strain, says, "Thank you, Ben, I love you," and Ben's final words are, "I know," to mirror his father in The Empire Strikes Back. So, in the end, Ben's story arc will be one of hatred, redemption, and finally, sacrifice to save Rey and allow her to rebuild the Jedi. Rey's story arc will be about just a girl from Jakku who felt a call from the Force and becomes a Jedi and rebuilds the Order. And the story of the Skywalkers will almost be somewhat of a heroic tragedy, if that makes sense. Anakin and Ben both fell to the dark side but were redeemed, and Luke and Leia were both heroes through and through, but both had their failings. And overall, the Skywalkers will really have left the galaxy the same way they found it, with the Jedi bringing peace to the galaxy and another New Republic to govern over everything. Therefore, I think the Skywalkers will indeed be somewhat of a tragedy. They had hopes to do amazing things, but ultimately brought terror to the galaxy before also bringing it back to peace. They will go down in history as having a large impact for the time that they were around, but ultimately not changing much in the long run. After all, the Jedi were strong before Anakin's birth, with a galactic republic installed to govern the galaxy, and the Sith were in hiding. Nothing will really have changed after Ben's death if my theory is close, other than that the Sith will now truly be gone, which yes, is technically bringing balance to the Force, but it doesn't really affect much since again, the Sith were in hiding before Anakin's birth, and therefore weren't out terrorizing the galaxy. Instead, it was not one, but two Skywalkers that helped them do that until they were redeemed. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed my first theory video. If you have a different idea for Episode 9, or just want to talk some Star Wars, be sure to comment below or hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, both of which I'll leave links to in the description. Remember, I'm going to be uploading every weekday from now on, so if you like the content I've been putting out so far, subscribe and click the bell icon to stay tuned to the channel so you can catch all of my uploads. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and may the Force be with all of you.